Okay, in this lesson, we're going to look at approximating numbers and placing them on the number line. So we're going to start working a little bit more with number lines, thinking about where the numbers fall, okay? So in order to do this, we're still going to keep doing that step of changing the numbers to a decimal. Okay, super, super important. And then once we change it to a decimal, one thing we're going to think about is we're going to decide what two integers the number falls between, okay? These have to be numbers that are right next to each other, okay? And let me give you an example. If I had something that was 3.5. Okay, that 3.5 falls between 3 and, that's an and sign, 3 and 4. Okay, 3 and 4 are right next to each other. 3.5 is right in the middle. Or we can say that a number falls between 5 and 6. 5 and 6 are they're next to each other on the number line, one right after the other. Okay? And then also that's really important is we want to decide what the integer is closest to, or decide what integer it's closest to. Okay, so let's look at a couple of examples. Okay, so the first one is the square root of 90. So the first thing we want to do is change it to a decimal. The square root of 90 in a decimal is what? I hope you have your calculator. Type in the square root of 90, use your calculator on your computer or your phone, and you should get 9.486, and you probably have some more digits there, right? That's enough. That's good. Now, what two integers does this fall between? So remember, we've been talking about thinking about decimals as money. If this was $9.48, what dollar amounts is that between? Well, that's between $9 and $10. Just a way to think about it with thinking about it with money. So this number, the square root of 90, 9.486, falls between 9 and 10. Well, which one of those integers, these are our integers, which integer is 9.486 closest to? So on our number line here, I'm going to put 9 and 10 because that's how they would go on the number line. I also want us to think that maybe halfway in the middle is 9.5 or 9.5. So where would we put 9.486? I hope that you're thinking we would put it right here. That's where the square root of 90 would go. And so which one is it closest to? It is closest to 9. Okay? Okay, let's look at the next example. The square root of 175. So type that in your calculator. Change it to a decimal. The square root of 175 is 13.2288, and there might be some more numbers, but that's enough. What does this fall between? Little hint is you're always going to use that whole number that's out front in front of the decimal. So it's between 13 and what? What is the next number up? 13 and 14, right? Okay, so on our number line here, I'm going to put 13, and I'm going to put 14. Where would we put 13.228? Which is it going to be closest to? $13.22. That's pretty close to 13. So it's going to be closer to 13. Okay, the next one's a little bit trickier because we have a negative sign, okay? So type in the square root of 12. You can put negative in there too if you want. We just know that the decimal is going to be negative. And if you type in the square root of 12, you get 3.46, roughly. That's rounded a little bit, maybe. So negative 3.46. Now, this is a little tricky because when we look at a negative number line, okay, remember it goes backwards. So what number are we going to put here? Negative what? Okay, I hope you're thinking negative 4, because remember it's working backwards. So negative 3.46, that's working away from 0. So that means that it is between negative 3 and negative 4. Okay, or we might have said negative 4 and negative 3 if we want to list at least the greatest. Now, right here on our number line, that middle would be negative 3.5. So where does negative 3.46 fall? Okay, I hope you said that it falls right here. So that would be negative the square root of 12. So see, I told you it's a little bit trickier with negatives. We've got to really imagine that number line. So I'm just going to put a couple of numbers here for you to think about. Remember, this is what our negative number line looks like. And then here are our positives. Whoops. So just something to think about. Okay? Okay. So we're going to look at these examples now. It says, which point on the number line represents each number below? So we have lots of points, A, B, C, D, E, F. We have 3 different numbers. So what I want you to do is stop your video, change each of these to a decimal, and see if you can match up which point they go with. Okay, and then when you're finished, turn it back on and check and see how you did. The square root of 47 is about 6.85. So I'm going to have to find 6 on my number line. Here's 6. And there's only one point that could be, 6.85. So the square root of 47 is 0.8. The square root of 27 is 5.19. So let me go find where 5 is. Oh, only one possible point it could be. So the square root of 11 is 3.31. Okay, let's go to 3. Uh-oh, I've got 2 points. Okay, well, is 3.31 closer to 3 or closer to 4? Remember, halfway in between would be 3.5. So that might help a little bit. And hopefully now you see that the square root of 11 would be 0.8. Okay, please make sure that your notes are secured into your notebook, and then go on to your assignment in Canvas.